We're live. Yay. Hi, guys. Hey, it's Julia, and I'm here with my dear friend Stephanie Kreun. She's zooming in from Arizona today, and she and I were just talking recently, and I said, oh my gosh, I just want to talk with you more, and I want to share some information that I've learned from her over the years about her story, about what she does to help people with their health, how she's incorporated into her family, and everything like that. So thanks for joining us here, Stephanie.
Absolutely. It's good to be here. Thank
I
you.
know. It's good to see you again.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to ask you a few questions and let's just have a little conversation. So tell us about you, your family, and your background, and then how you got introduced to nutrigenomics.
Okay. So my name is Stephanie. I live in Arizona, sunny Arizona, still hot, over 100 degrees. But I love it here. And I actually spent 15 years as a pharmaceutical rep. Julie and I have that in common. I was 15 years specifically in digestive disease health. And 2010 happens and big corporations, farm corporations do downsizing, and I was a part of the downsize. Yeah. And no warning, just done. And I found myself home. And just a couple months later, we received a phone call that we were selected for a baby because we were on the adoption list. And so I have three boys, two biological, and then my third, who came home at 5 months old. And I really just looked at it as this is where God wants me to be, and this is okay. My degree is actually in exercise science and nutrition. So I was home with him, and he was very high needs. We did not know anything about his exposures and anything about his kind of where he was coming from and what the in utero experience was for him. But we just learned very quickly that he was high needs. And so I knew that that's my place and that's where I needed to be. I learned a lot, and I felt like our front door was like a revolving door. There was a lot of different people coming into our home to help give us services. And then at that time when I was home, I'm just the kind of woman that doesn't sit well. I can't sit. I can't be that stay-at-home mom. So I chose to go back to school for some additional schooling in nutrition. And so I received a diploma for holistic nutrition. And, fast forward, once he was able to attend school, I started working out in the kind of medical field, really working alongside of physicians and coaching their patients and helping them to make really awesome lifestyle changes, hoping two things: either to prevent disease and prevent medications, or to pull them off of medications, possibly, especially if they were experiencing any kind of metabolic syndrome, metabolic disorders. I think that food is very powerful when it comes to that. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I've been the last 8 years. Is I've worked at multiple practitioners, worked alongside of multiple practitioners, using food and nutrition to help people live their best life.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love it because my journey's been kind of similar, right? Pharmaceutical, drugs, and then
you see
maybe we can get off those drugs. Maybe there's something better, and isn't that the truth? But
yeah, and I think, Julia, it's like you don't know what you don't know, but once you know and you learn it and it lights up something inside of you, you can't not share that with so many people.
Exactly. So nutrigenomics, I was introduced to it by a neurologist that I was calling on in the pharmaceutical industry, using with her patients. So how were you introduced to it? And, what did you think at first? Mm-hmm. And what maybe have you seen?
Yeah, very similar experience to you, except I was actually working alongside of a practitioner, and he utilized nutrigenomics to help decrease oxidative stress in his patients' bodies. And one of the reasons is because they did physical therapy, chiropractic care, stem cells, a lot of different therapies. And we want to make sure that the body is really in its best state, right, to be able to to go through those type of therapies. So I really believe in that conjunctive therapy. So being able to utilize nutrigenomics and also be able to utilize food and utilize to really be able, I kind of call it the priming of the body, so
Mhm.
that the therapy, your body's really ready for it. And I think it really takes to the therapies even better. And I actually saw that with my own son. The way the story goes really is we were using it in practice. I didn't know a lot, and specifically about NRF2 activation. I didn't know anything, actually. I'd never heard of it before. And one day the physician that I'm working for says, I had had a bad morning. You ever have a bad morning as a mom? I'd had a bad morning, and it kind of, we were at a heightened place with my son. He was living in fight or flight. I was being called up to the school a lot of explosions here at home. He
How
has
old was he at the time?
multiple, what's that?
How old was he at the time?
Yeah, he was 6.
Okay.
Multiple diagnoses, multiple neurological diagnoses. So that's kind of just to kind of fill in the dots. During that time of when he came home, we adopted him at 1 until 6. I don't even know how to appropriately explain to you. We lived a hard life. We lived in a he ran the show.
Mhm.
He
Mhm.
ran the show, meaning we didn't know who was going to wake up. A lot of explosions, a lot of tantrums. It doesn't feel safe in our house. He was very unpredictable. And we could go from high to low really quick, or low to high, I should say. So we lived in that. The school lived in that. He was living in fight or flight. I was going up to the school quite often to pull him out of scary situations for himself that he kind of created for himself. Anyway, we were doing multiple therapies, naturopathic doctors, and I had one of those mornings, and I just needed to be in my office and cry. And I wasn't given that opportunity because the doctor was there. I was like, oh, game face. I don't have it today. And he said to me, don't you have your son on these products? And I was like, no, because I really don't know. And I think when you live in that chaos, it's hard for you to see,
Huh.
and you have to be open to listen to somebody else going, I think this can help you. And then you have to just take that step yourself. And I was a very open-minded mom.
Mhm.
And I remember thinking, well, maybe it'll work. We've used a lot of the same ingredients, but I'm open to trying. And so one of the other physicians, and it was actually Dr. Brimhall,
Mhm.
had called me one day and said, I heard about your son, and I want you to take a look at what we have.
Mhm.
And so I did. And then I met Carrie Williams at a meeting, and I heard her son's story. And why not? Why not? So I started my son on the nutrigenomic products, Nerf 2, Nerf 1. He was already on a probiotic. He was already on a fish oil, but we did Nerf 1, Nerf 2, and a drink
Mhm.
called Axio.
Mhm.
And I had really great results within about 5 days with my son.
How did he feel?
Well, that was a thing. He never knew how he felt. And for the
Ah.
first time, we were able to experience a little bit of how he was able to communicate how he felt. He lives at this high level. And when he finally was able to come down, he was held our hand. I remember it being quiet in our house, and I was like, oh, that's gotta be disastrous. Where's the kid? And I went out looking for him, and I find him in a chair with a book. It blew my mind.
Wow.
So immediately I was on text message to the 2 individuals that had introduced this to me and shared it and said, what is this? I've never experienced this in my life with my child. He held my hand. He told me that he loved me. He was sitting quietly in a chair. This is all in 5 days time. What is this?
So you learned more at that time,
I learned
really.
more. I learned.
So these doctors were using these products with their patients,
Correct.
and that makes sense to me. In regards to the way I look at it too, is putting the fire out, like you just
Yep.
kind of even said, bringing it down for our bodies to really accept therapy and accept what we need to be healthy, and maybe we are deficient in things, or we need to do different things to be healthy. We first need to put the fire out.
Absolutely. And for everybody, that fire is in a different place. So that's why when I talk to people, I'm like, I don't, if you have the fire, where is it at? I don't know if this is going to help you, but why not try? And for my son, it was his brain, it was his nervous system.
And now what really was cool you had a recent experience with NAD activation,
Yeah.
which has been just so fascinating. I am really enjoying it too. The
Yes.
energy level is incredible. And I
Mhm.
also am working in concussion right now. So I'd love to hear your story if you could.
Yeah, so then I have a concussion story. So a couple of years ago, I'm at my son's baseball game, and there's not very many people there, so no one is there saying fly ball heads up. And a ball came from a field behind me and hit me in the back of the head. And my then 14-year-old, he's now 16, but my 14-year-old standing next to me, and all of a sudden I look up and I said, "What was that?" And then I just went down,
Oh,
and
wow. Oh, wow.
I started to have seizures, and I was taken to the trauma center, and I struggled. I
Oh,
struggled. And I started a lot of different therapies, and I fell into um, biofeedback or neurofeedback.
mhm.
The story really is I was still just struggling. I did the brain mapping. They would look at it on the TV, and I remember the therapist would go, "How are you functioning?" Like what is the alpha? That's the calming one. I was like non-existent, right? And I just lived in this high state, and that's how I felt too. Like, oh, everything is just so intense, and I felt like I lived in a constant state of overwhelm. Overwhelm. My brain always felt overwhelmed. And our company came out with NAD, and it was kind of cool to see the results. I knew I felt them, but it was really cool to actually tangibly see them, because one of the things that I would do, I would go to their office once a week, and then I would be at home. I would have a home app I would do. So I'd wear like a helmet, and I would do this app on my phone. And the goal was for me to reach a level of 16 or 17. And I was always at like a 7 or 8, 7 or 8, 7 or 8. So I took NAD that morning, and I felt really great. And I was like, oh, I'm going to knock out my neurofeedback. So I grabbed my phone and knock it out. I got a 15 day one.
Wow.
And then I do it the next day and I get it again. And so I go in the next week, and he goes, "What just happened? How do you go from a 7 to a 15? And he said, "Did you drink like a strong cup of coffee before, or what did you do?" And I said, and I had it in my hand. I go, "No, I took this. This is the only thing I've done. And I feel like it's bringing me back."
Wow, wow, that's wonderful. And then
Yeah.
the science of synergy. So the science of synergy with your background in nutrition and everything, and the synergy with activating three different pathways, NAD, NRF1, NRF2, and the synergy of the effect. You probably felt that in your brain and body.
I think that I mean, this is assumptive for me to say, but considering how my body responded when getting hit, but then how quickly I was actually able to recover and come back, I think it's because of what I was already doing in my body.
Mhm.
And then adding that on, which would have been 7 months later, is when it got added in.
Very cool. Very
Mhm,
cool.
mhm.
I really appreciate you sharing your stories, because I think they're really powerful. And I know you've got to go get your son here
I
in just
do.
like a minute. But is there anything else that you want to share with anybody who is in nutrition, healthcare, suffering from illnesses, or anything that you want to share about the company, the products, about life?
Yeah, I'll share a couple of things. And one I already spoke about, which was that I was open-minded.
Mm,
And I think that I think we as human beings should be open-minded. Because if had I not been, and had I not said yes, our life wouldn't look like it does today, right?
yeah.
So if I can be that voice for anybody to say, "Gosh, what if?" And if not, I had spent a lot of money on a lot of other things that didn't work. I think we always just need to be curious.
Mm,
So I love that we're curious. Just stay curious. And what if it does? And then also stay with it long enough to actually see the benefits. My story with my son isn't obviously everybody's story. His body did respond very well in the beginning, but it doesn't mean everybody's is going to. Just trust the process, look at the science, see what's out there. Number two is I never thought that I was going to fall in love with a company like this. And I
You weren't
think
in
it's,
love with your pharmaceutical company?
no, I did not fall in love with my pharmaceutical.
No.
Cut X, you're out of here.
Like,
I don't even know who you are. Are you kidding me? Like, who's that person?
number 2530, you're out.
That's what I say. Exactly. You're just a number. They don't know who you are. But I
Yeah.
will, you know what? I will add just
Yeah.
one thing about that, is I mean, you know this too. You sit, and I say this to when I share this with people, if anybody is looking for something different, or, I think as somebody who does nutrition or somebody who cares about wellness, and I have an obligation to share this with people. I just do.
Mhm.
But I showed up to doctors' offices every day sharing pills every day. And I remember the day that the doctor's like, Steph, if your mom was sitting here, would you give her your drug? And I was like, oh, heck no. I would do this, 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 this. And it's when I realized that
Hmm.
I wasn't living what I was made to live. Like that, I wasn't doing my passion. And so gratefully, corporate
We're
America just,
closed, right?
just
I
took
get
care
it.
of that,
I
because I called
agree.
corporate handcuffs. I weren't going to cut my handcuffs myself. Somebody else had to unlock that and let me go and be, and let my wings just span out and go do what I was made to do. But what I did find is when I said yes, and to also the business, and to come into a company, I got a whole big family, because now I'm surrounded by people who care about people, who are like-minded, who are passionate about helping people live their best life. So when you put a room full of those kind of people together, that's just super fun,
Yep,
right?
it
So
is.
that's the other thing I want to say. And then when I was saying, when I was at when you be at your farm meetings and they're standing on stage and they're doing a kind of a snapshot of what the future looks like for the company, and you would be sitting there looking at it and you'd be like, okay, I got about this much more time before my drug goes generic, and I got to be, do they have a pipeline? What's coming up, and where am I at, and what's the disease state doing, and how many competitors do I have on the market?
Yeah.
My aha moment was being at one of our big conferences, sitting in a very similar environment, except with really cool people,
Mhm.
and going, okay, this actually has massive potential. Because if everybody has this going on in their body,
Yep.
but not everybody knows the power of NRF2 activation,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
all I have to do is open my mouth and tell people about it, the potential to grow a business really is there.
Yep, yep. I remember the neurologist was very smart because she was a board certified neurologist, but she was smart enough to tell me, Julia, there's only 70,000 people worldwide that are doing this. And if you participate with a company that's less than 150,000, with something that's unique, consumable, patented, and
Yeah.
proven,
Yeah.
kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity. So it sounds like you had that aha moment when I had that
I
aha
did.
moment too. And
Mhm.
most importantly, do no harm.
Absolutely.
Most importantly.
Yeah. I
So,
love that you said that.
yeah,
It's true.
it's the
Yeah.
truth, right? Well,
Mhm.
this has been phenomenal, my friend from
Thank you.
Arizona. Oh,
Absolutely. Thanks for
thank,
inviting me.
thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.